All right, it's 8:05. Can everybody hear me? Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Friday night. We have 141 people joining us tonight. Okay, not bad. Quite good turnout. I think more will come joining soon. I've just posted a reminder onto our group. Okay, without further ado, welcome everybody. Welcome to today's talk, to this webinar, which is the ASEAN NGINX Super User Kickoff event. It's a great honor to have this collaboration with NGINX to promote this awesome initiative to the developer Kaki community as well as the other Malaysian developer communities. Okay. So how this webinar will go? It will start at 8. I'm doing the introduction now. At 8:10, the speaker will give the talk, will deliver the talk on this ASEAN Super User campaign. You can ask your questions that you have in the Q&A section, which we will then answer in the Q&A session later at 8:55. Okay. And last but not least, at 9:15, make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you got listened throughout the webinar. We will be needing you to answer to type in a keyword, right? Type in a keyword when you email to us your entry. Later, I explain how the webinar flow goes. Okay, so here's a webinar prize. And this is how you're going to get it. So for the giveaway later at 9:15, right? We will randomly draw your email from the list of emails that register with us through the website. The lucky draw winner will have to email the keyword I am super user to admin@developerkaki.my. And the lucky draw winners will be redrawn if email is not received in 120 seconds. Okay, all clear on the giveaway flow? Okay, can okay, yep. Let me swap this. Okay, good. So now let me start off with the introduction of the speaker tonight. Tonight we have a solutions architect from NGINX, Michael Cheo. He's based in Singapore. He has over 15 years of experience in IT. Michael has gained end-to-end expertise in implementing technology solutions for enterprises across Asia. He has been with F5 Networks for the past 7 years. In early 2020, he moved on to take the role of solutions architect for NGINX business unit. With his passion for agile methodologies and DevOps practices, Michael is helping customers across Asia to roll out NGINX modern application solutions. So without further ado, I welcome Michael to take the floor.
Thank you, Darren. Can you hear me? Darren, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, that's good. I believe you can see my screen as well. Right. Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening to the Malaysian team's developer Kaki, and thank you, Darren, for hosting this wonderful event for us to speak to you. Thanks to Darren for the detailed introductions. I just want to say a few words about myself. My name is Michael Cheo. I used to live in KL for 20+ years. So I used to study in Multimedia University, and eventually graduate and start to work for a different IT company in Malaysia. About 5 years ago, so me and my family kind of decided to came down to Singapore. So even before we came down to Singapore, so I was a F5 pre-sales consultant, servicing the telco industry, for example, Maxis, Celcom, and U-Mobile, and etc. Those are my customers. Right? So I'm helping them to in the IT departments to embrace F5 technologies. So after that, when I moved to Singapore, so I continued to work for different agency, government agency, servicing government agency, banking sectors in Singapore, enterprises, etc. And last year, and I took on an internal role transfer and become a solution architect for NGINX. Right, definitely I have more than 20 plus years of experience in IT sectors, and hopefully today, for the time that we have for 40 plus minutes, I'm able to share some knowledge about what is this technology about and how it can help you in your IT journey as well. Right. Now, first and foremost, I want to represent NGINX community. I want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to the developer. Thank you to the NetOps people. So because of system administrator, web developers, web administrator, DevOps people, everyone love NGINX. And if you haven't started using NGINX, you should, because it's the most widely used technology right now. And later on, after today's sessions, if I may inspire you, I just want to kind of push you one step further to explore this wonderful technology in kind of complete your entire the IT's infrastructure as well, right? Now, just a bit some fun facts, right? Thanks to all the community supports, right? NGINX NGINX overtook Apache to be the world's most widely used web server, right? And then this W3 text survey is in September. NGINX, based on their data that they collected, 34.1% of the website that they monitor, they're using NGINX to power their website, as compared to the Apache, right? Now, I just want to bring your attention to this colorful chart here. This is by the W3 text, right? It just said like how NGINX, what percentage of people using NGINX as their web server. Now, if you notice, okay, so NGINX is number 1 and Apache is number 2. But if you can see the trend, right, see the pattern is slightly different, right? So you can see this is the orange color have a larger percentage, whereas Apache have orange color has a lesser percentage. What does it mean, right? It's the top 1,000 of the busiest website in the world, top 1,000 busiest website using NGINX. So this means the more busiest the website is, the likelihood they will use NGINX technology. It speaks some things, right? It speaks that this technology is wonderful, it's powerful, it's high performance, it's highly scalable, right? As compared to Apache, which is one of the earlier web server, very popular web server. As you can see, people are busiest website tend to use less of this technology. Now, by no means we are saying they are lousier, but it's just like the trend is people are moving to use NGINX as because of the performance and the capability as well, which we will highlight some of the features and use cases later as well. Right, beside W3 text, if you can see, Netcraft, based on their survey and based on their data they collected, NGINX is month by month, the percentage of site using NGINX continue to increase, as well as Apache on the other side is on the declining mode as well, right? Now, so there's another survey, Datadock, if you know this company. So they did a survey. This was their last available report, right, in November 2020. We had to wait until November 2021 for the latest report. But nonetheless, if you based on this report, say top technology running on Docker, on container, as you probably heard, most of you are familiar. A lot of companies are embracing microservices and Docker and containers as well, right? Like close to 50+% of the people using NGINX as a container into their infrastructure. Now, if you look at the rest of the competition, so-called, right? The second one is Redis, Postgres, Elasticsearch, MySQL, RabbitMQ. The rest literally are just like database analytic platform or SIEM platform, right? There's none of them are doing proxy or web server. So which means NGINX is leading the pack and there's no competitions in what it does. So it's very, very powerful. We want to thank the community for embracing this technology into your everyday life as well. So if you go to Docker Hub, you can see there's a lot of image being pulled down, Nginx open source usage. Now, this is the last survey that I want to share, CNCF, which is kind of govern the cloud technology. In 2020, this survey. Now, okay, if you're building a Kubernetes or any Kubernetes platform, in order to bring the traffic into the cluster, you need to have something called Ingress Controller. Now, based on this survey, more than 60% of the people using Nginx as an Ingress Controller, right? As compared to the rest of the technology, which is kind of far behind, right? As a matter of fact, in Kubernetes deployment, the de facto Ingress Controller is Nginx open source. Now, Nginx Plus as a company, we offer a better value in terms of features, in terms of performance as well. But nonetheless, it's just again, once again, Nginx is a testament to Nginx technology. Like it's very highly scalable, high performance as well, right? Now, this will be one of the important slides for today, which I will spend quite a fair bit of time into here. I want to introduce to you whether you are new to Nginx, who never heard of this company. Okay, it's pronounced as Nginx, right? Nginx, right? So if you're new, first time heard about this products, right, called Nginx, or you have been using it, I believe this slide will have some good key takeaway for you. So you relearn or kind of get to know this product once again, right? And fall in love in this product again. So that's point number one. And again, just like what Darren had mentioned, today is today why we are here. Beside this meetup, is also in conjunctions of a campaign that we are launching. We call ASEAN NGINX ASEAN Super User, right? So in order, I mean, I will talk about more details later on. In part to be a super user, to qualify for a certificate, to qualify for recognitions and goodie, you need to take a quiz of a test, which is about 100 over questions, right? Now, what I'm going to share in this slide will give you some nuggets or some kind of exam tips, right? That help you, some of the things that will be useful for you to help you to pass the test as well, right? So hopefully you're able to pay attention to some of the words that I'm going to use on this slide. Right. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the Nginx technology stack. So Nginx, right, one of the most popular, okay, as a matter of fact, it started, the first use case is a web server use case. Now, why is it so? So in the past, Apache is world's most known web server. But Apache have one underlying architecture problem. The Apache, because of the architecture, it cannot scale more than 10,000 concurrent connections. No matter how much CPU or memory you assign to the VM machines, Apache just cannot get over the 10,000 concurrent connections. Now, the founder of Nginx is called Ego. He used to become a system administrator for a company who managing the Apache, the web server. Now, because he into this problem, hence he started this open source project to as his own leisure time to try to build a proxy or build a platform that can scale unlimitedly, right? Kind of scale linearly. So the end product of it is called the NGINX open source project, which is the first fundamental use case of web server. Now, Nginx under the entire architecture is event-driven, non-blocking architecture. No matter how much CPU or memory you assign to the VM machine or to the container, the performance will just scale vertically up. Now, if today you assign 2 vCPU, 2 gig memory, you just get X performance, right? That's X transaction per second. Now, if you double up the CPU, double up the memory, it will double up the performance. Now, in our lab, we tested all the way to 48 vCPU. Literally, the performance just continue to scale vertically up. Now, because of this underlying technology, like the architecture, it can enable us to do what we are doing, what we're going to introduce some of the use cases as well. Now, web server is very quite common. I mean, easy to understand, right? Serving static content, etc. Now, early on, you can see the statistic. Most of company busiest website using Nginx to power their website, right? Now, so beside the web server, another popular use case of Nginx is called content caching. Now, so what's content caching, right? So literally, you have a backend server. You put Nginx in front. You turn on the caching. When the user request come to Nginx, Nginx fetch the content from the server and store it in the memory cache, right, in the disk, right? And after that, Nginx will serve to the user. Now, subsequently, when the user requests for the same content, we will serve from Nginx rather than go to backend server. But because Nginx able to handle the transaction so much better, again, right, very efficient way. We literally, by putting NGINX in front of your application, we can give easily 10 times of boost performance to your applications. Now, it can help you to save cost in your application server, and then kind of speed up the user experience. Now, if today you browse any website and the website take probably 5 seconds to load, you will probably jump down to another website as well. So hence, content caching will improve the user experience. Now, one of the most publicly known use case or reference case is Netflix. Netflix using NGINX to build up their own content delivery network, CDN farm. Now, if today if you watch Netflix, very likely the movie that you stream is out from their own Netflix CDN farm, powered by NGINX technology. Right, so the first use case, web server content caching is very, very popular. Now, second thing, because again, it's a non-blocking event-driven type of architecture, it allows NGINX to become a very efficient load balancer. Now, for people who might not know what's load balancer, typically you have two servers. You want to make sure that the traffic evenly distribute to the server. You can use a load balancer to kind of achieve a high availability. The reverse proxy is basically to shield off the server from the public, right? So literally the public traffic will hit to the reverse proxy before going to the server, right? So we can implement certain type of features. For example, in the modern practice, people, if you might heard of MTLS, mutual TLS, HTTPS website, SSL terminations, or even you want to take a step further. For example, you want to do short jot token authentication, OpenID Connect, etc. Rather than all of these features you build into your programming code, which can take time consuming, why not offer it and configure in NGINX? And NGINX able to help you to just by a few command line to configure, you're able to achieve those results as well. Now, for example, let's say you want to do like API authentication, API key, SSL the authentication, you can configure in NGINX rather than in the backend server. Can save you time as well. Now, load balancer is very, very old school word. It started. I mean, this word has been started since the .com boom in the late 1990s. Now, if today your modern practices, you heard about the term called blue-green testing, blue-green deployment, A/B testing, canary deployment, circuit breaker. Those are cool words used by the DevOps people, right? But think about it. What is A/B testing, blue-green deployment, like a canary deployment, or even circuit breaker? These are none other than layer 7 routing policy, right? Based on certain conditions, you want to route traffic to certain pool member, etc. Now, all of these literally are the layer 7 reverse proxy or routing policy, right? So NGINX again able to empower you. Now, whether today you are embracing microservices and modern practices, or you are still in the monolithic type of deployment, NGINX able to allow you to enjoy all the new cool practices. For example, A/B testing, blue-green deployment, canary deployment, even in the traditional setup as well. So it is very, very powerful. Now, more than 60% of the people who using NGINX as an API gateway. Now, so what's API gateway? Right, API gateway, for example. So today API is such a common word, right? When you use Facebook applications, when you use mobile applications, like a mobile application talking to the backend, very likely that they're communicating via the API. Now, API contribute to more than half of the worldwide traffic as well, right? To the web traffic as well. Now, so what's API gateway? For example, where the request /API/user sent to one business logic, /API/transactions go to another business logic, /API/status history go to another to another business logic as well. Now, if we again come to think of it, API gateway is none other than layer 7 routing policy. Now, what we just mentioned just now, NGINX is a very powerful, highly scalable gateway or proxy, right? So API gateway is literally what NGINX built to do, right? Now, when we want to talk about API gateway, so when we talk about API, so just use the word API. API generally refer to two components. First component is called the API gateway. Then the second component is called API management. Now, so API gateway is the one who processing the request, the traffic, right? So the one's gateway, we call it the data plane, the one who moving the traffic. Now, and there's another component called API management. Management sounded like a control plane management. It's a dashboard for you to define the API definitions, API publishing, API versioning, API dev portal, etc., more control plane, right? Now, so in NGINX, we have we have a decouple solution, decouple. NGINX itself can function as API gateway. Now, if you have a very comprehensive CI/CD pipeline, you can use NGINX itself just as a gateway. You do not need the management. But for a company who think that, hey, I want to have a GUI, I want to have a define my versioning, etc., then you will go for another component. It's called an extendable component called management plane, NGINX for the API management. Now, right now, what we are mentioning is only on the API gateway. Now, probably you heard about a lot of API solutions outside in the market: Apache, MuleSoft, X-Way, Software AG, and etc. Right now, all of this company in Kong and some of this company, what they do is they use NGINX open source as a gateway. Then later on, they build up their own API management to differentiate themselves from their competitor. So for example, Kong use NGINX open source as a gateway, MuleSoft using NGINX open source as a gateway, and the Apache, same thing, right? Then after that, they build up their own different GUI for the user experience, for easy, for additional features as well. But nonetheless, they're using open source NGINX as underlying the API gateway. Now, why all of this commercial product trusted and using NGINX open source to power them is again because of the non-blocking event-driven architecture as well. Right. Now, so the another component is the WAF component. Now, for people who might not be familiar, WAF stands for Web Application Firewall. Now, if you talk about firewall, right? So every data center need a firewall. Firewall literally just filtering IP address and port. What IP address, what port number can come into your data center. But all of these, right, is very low level. It's called layer 4 policy control. But if you have an application running on HTTP, HTTPS, again, API running on HTTP, HTTPS, they are subject to application attack, cross-site scripting, SQL injection, cross-site request forgery, cookie hijack, etc. Those are layer 7 attack. Now, those layer 7 attack, they require web application firewall. Now, web application firewall is not good to have. It's a must-have if you have any public exposed applications. Now, in the past, F5 have been building this application firewall, have been providing to the enterprise, right, to the bank, to the government sector, etc. So F5 have an enterprise grade of WAF. In 2019, when F5 acquired NGINX, F5 port over the WAF engine into NGINX. Now, so literally, what do you get? You get F5 enterprise grade of WAF. You get NGINX lightweight, high performance data plane. So right now, it can marry on both. So literally, because of this module, when the web server, you can turn on web server with App Protect. Content caching, you can turn on content caching with App Protect. Load balancer, again, if you want to, load balancer with App Protect. API gateway with App Protect. Now, so in the market, there's very seldom, they have no company that able to provide kind of such a comprehensive solution, enterprise grade of WAF into their data plane, right? So NGINX is one of the in a very unique positions, right? Then the fifth use case is called Ingress Controller. Now, just now, as earlier on, as I mentioned, if you're using Kubernetes platform, Kubernetes, OpenShift, Rancher, RKE, AWS, EKS, Azure, AKS, and GKE as well, right? All the cluster, there's a way that require for you to bring the traffic into the cluster. Now, there's a many way, there's a load balancer way, there's a node port way, but one of the most popular way is due through Ingress Controller. Now, NGINX is a de facto Ingress Controller for Kubernetes deployment. Now, again, it's able to offer you a lot of important features to help you to have a more to complement the agile method of rolling out. Now, again, today's session is not to deep dive into here, but if you have a chance, please go and go to the website and look out for this topic. There's a lot of things that you can do with Ingress Controller. Now, again, I want to highlight, because of this App Protect, right now you can enable this App Protect in the Ingress Controller. Literally at the entry point to the cluster, you can enable the API security or enable the App Protect security as well. Right, so this is the fifth use case, fifth common use case. Number 6, once you into the microservices, then the second thing, once after a while, you're talking about service mesh, right? Service mesh is for east-west traffic within the cluster. Now, so one of the popular technology outside is called Istio. If you've heard about service mesh likelihood, you heard of Istio. There's another product called Linkerly. Now, so all of them what they do is trying to inject a sidecar proxy into your container pods, so that to establish to set up a security posture through MTLS, through observability, and etc. Now, just think about it, right? What is this sidecar? Sidecar is basically is a proxy complement to your container. Now, this sidecar proxy is literally have to handle the traffic, to implement all the technology as well. I mean, like a routing policy, etc. Now, think about this. Way before Kubernetes become popular, Nginx has been used as a web server reverse proxy already. So our code has been further optimized after so many years, right? Close to probably 20 years, right? Have been further optimized. And then right now we just plug and play our technology, Nginx Plus technology, as a sidecar into our service mesh. So beside Istio, beside Linkerly, Nginx, we offer our service mesh called Nginx Service Mesh using Nginx technology as well. Now, again, because we are well known for lightweightness, we are well known for high availability and efficient in processing the traffic. So definitely, if you are into service mesh, you want to check out what Nginx can bring to you, right? So this is 6 of the very commonly data plane. Data plane is the one who handling the traffic things, right? So you can use Nginx. So at the open source, we call Nginx. Then the commercial version, we call Nginx Plus. Now, again, you can go to Nginx website and request a trial license for 30 days. And with the trial license, literally, you can play with all of these features as well, right? Now, so this data plane. Now, if you're familiar with Nginx, later on, if time allows, I probably will show you some, a quick demo of the code, right? So the Nginx, it doesn't have a GUI, it doesn't have a dashboard, right? So it's very infrastructure as code practice. So for everything, it's a command line for you to type into the configuration file, right? Now, so that is what Nginx is. People love it because developers love it because developers just feel very comfortable with code and programming as well. Now, for people who might not familiar with all of this, yet they want to enjoy some of this benefit. Hence, Nginx built this control plane, a dashboard, a control plane outside this Nginx Plus, right? So the first product we have is called NGINX Controller, right? Now, so NGINX Controller is to okay. So if I may put it simply, right, it's a dashboard, it's a GUI, it's a form base, like for you to fill in the form, like the host name, the IP address, the parameters, some of the policy. Then you click a submit button, and then we will push down the configuration into Nginx on your behalf. So you do not need to memorize or familiar yourself with the Nginx command. So the controller is a GUI, is a self-service portal for you to do that, right? So you have a dashboard and analytics for you to monitor your Nginx performance statistic per se as well. Now, Nginx itself, it doesn't come with API. So what happens is that you can Nginx Controller have an API exposed. Your CI/CD pipeline can call to Nginx Controller API, and Nginx Controller can push down the configuration for you to the Nginx Plus. Now, but what is the catch here, right? Because Nginx Controller has a very specific requirement, a specific purpose, is to help people, the network people, to embrace Nginx without being expert in Nginx technology. So we hide away all the complexity. We expose to you some of the simple to use self-service portal. Because of that, we can't sacrifice some of the control, some of the features as well. So right now, the Nginx Controller only focus on 2 main use cases: ADC, which is a load balancer and reverse proxy, and API management, which is API gateway technology, right? So this Nginx Controller is just serving for 2 purposes and not for the rest. I think, so load balancer with the app protect as well. So this is a 3 module and not for the rest of the use case. Now this is Nginx Controller. But however, Nginx also have another control plane product we call Nginx Instant Manager. Now here in Controller, as I say, we hide away the complexity. We let you use Nginx. Now, Nginx Instant Manager doesn't hide the complexity. It just basically, if you're familiar with the Visual Studio editor, right? That was one of the very popular IDE text editor. Now, Nginx Instant Manager is a web GUI. It has a Visual Studio editor type of look and feel. It lets you centrally manage all the configuration file of Nginx. So literally, instead of SSH into individual machines, VM machines to change the things, you can, from the dashboard, you can pull out the configurations file and then to type the configuration file. Now, because of Visual Studio text editor type of a look and feel, and then the features, we will do the spelling check for you. We will have a tooltip recommendations for you. We can help to step up some, and we will give you some recommendation what command to use. Kind of simplify your experience as well, right? So there's another API for you to export. So you can call to an Instance Manager API, which will push down the configuration to the NGINX Plus as well. Now, so let me just summarize. In a control plane, we have two products: NGINX Controller and NGINX Instance Manager. This is for basic user, network user want to have a ADC use case or API use case. But for power user, people who want to have full control on NGINX configuration and achieve all the cool result or cool features that you want, then Instance Manager, NGINX Instance Manager is a product for you to explore, right? So this is a paid product. NGINX have a commercial product as well as a paid product, right? Sorry, there's a community product, open source product as well as NGINX Plus. But for NGINX Controller and NGINX Instance Manager, these are commercial product. But again, you're able to go to our website, request for trial license, and then to play with it as well, right? And another project, right? Another NGINX open source project is already production ready, but it might not be well known in this part of the world. We call NGINX Unit. Now think about it, right? In the past, NGINX started as a web server serving static content, but as we know, right, in the typical software architecture, 3-tier architecture, web server, app server, and database, right? Web server already NGINX handled that. App server, like so typically depending on the programming of choice that you use, Java, you could use Tomcat, JBoss, or whatever technology that you have. Let's say Python, and for example, that you use Ruby, Perl. You have different app server, right, to running for different technology. Right? Now, if let's say you are master in one technology, now second, right now you want to go into another technology, you need to learn on how to tune the things as well. Just think about this, right? If you want to configure SSL terminations, the way that how JBoss configure, or the Spring Boot, the way they configure, or even some other languages, right? The way they configure, it is a very different. How you achieve a very good posture of SSL is very challenging. It's very different. Now you have a limited 24 hours. How are you become a master of everything, right? So there's a big challenge about technology sprawl, right? Or tool sprawl of different technology running at the app server. Now, what is NGINX Unit try to address? NGINX Unit is a polyglot app server. What is polyglot? Polyglot means one single binary concurrently, it can run different type of programming languages. So I can spin up one VM machines. I can run Perl and Ruby runtime directly inside here. I just copy the code inside and it will just run. Now, it's as good as almost like a serverless type of concept. You just bring your code into the NGINX Unit, it will just run. Now, you can start a container. In the container, you can Ruby, Go languages, and run just directly inside one single container. Now, as of now, we support up to 7 different type of programming language. So you can run 7 different programming languages inside one single NGINX Unit. So if you're an app developer, I would strongly encourage you to check this thing out. Play with it and then and feedback to the community. Now, NGINX Unit as of now is a fully open source project, so it's a free to use. But if let's say you're NGINX Plus customer, you will get support for NGINX Unit as well. Now, and last but not least, because NGINX has say all this wonderful technology, it can run in different environments. You can run in public cloud, you can run in virtual machine, you can run in container, or you can run bare metal. Now, one of the biggest challenge about for any technical folks out there, for the developer out there, for the DevOps people out there, right? Now, sometimes you see a technology, you think it's very cool. You want to start to play, get your hand dirty, start to play with it. But however, a lot of us do not have the luxurious of, we do not have a lab in our company for us to install application to play with it. Or we do not have enough credit money to go to the public cloud to spin up some EC2 and to play with it. So because of all these constraints, it kind of limited us from exploring this technology. We heard about it, we know about it, we watched the YouTube about it, but there's no way for us to play with it. Now, the good news is NGINX Plus and NGINX Unit, it can run as container. So if today you have a laptop, you can install Docker in your computer, you can play with all of this technology in your computer with no additional cost to it. So it can give you a lot of flexibility. That's why that is one of the reasons why people love NGINX, because it's so lightweight, it's so powerful. Again, it can even in your own old laptop, you can play with it as well, right? Now, so right now, so I talked long enough about on this slide. Now, I just want to highlight for this ASEAN Super, the NGINX ASEAN Super User Program. Now, because there's a lot of things like, so obviously we won't cover all of this. Now, we will cover web server content caching, load balancer, reverse proxy, API gateway, app protect, Ingress Controller. Now, so these are the 5 main components that we will test you in the quiz. Now, so service mesh is not everybody use, so hence we leave it out. NGINX Unit is only developer probably will be interested, so that's why we leave this thing out as well. Now, NGINX Controller, just as I say, for a simple user, for power user is NGINX Instant Manager. So hence we will test some of the knowledge in Instant Manager, because again we're looking for super user, right? So NGINX the Instant Manager. Right. Okay. Yeah. So this is the slide that again kind of give a bird's eye view about all the technology that in the NGINX stack. Right. Now, so what are we doing here? Today we are launching ASEAN NGINX ASEAN Super User Community. Right. Now again, as I mentioned, NGINX is so easy to use. You can just run a single Docker run command in your PC. You can spin up one NGINX. Now, you can be any average user, but that's not what we are looking for. We are looking for super user. Now, super user is just we are looking for the cream of the crop, for people who are able to challenge themselves to a step higher, right? Now, so let me just cover what is super user. Now, think of it, right? Every time you heard about superhero, right? Think about Superman, think about Iron Man, superhero. What type of characteristic associated to the superhero? Superhero are people who is strength. They have a super power, right? They do what normal people cannot do, right? So they will have a deep knowledge about what they do. So that's why we're looking for people who not just know fundamental speed up one NGINX, but they will look into documentations, improve on the performance, on tune the things, on how to take a step further, right? We're looking for strength. Again, superhero are people who are very creative. When they start in the challenge, when they start in the situation, they're able to come up with solutions on how innovation solutions to fight back. So that's why we're looking for agility, right? We're looking for people who just take a simple technology, able to put the stack configurations and achieve a wonderful result, innovation solution. Just not as I mentioned, right? Now, and people are talking about the blue-green deployment, A/B testing, etc. Right? That is microservices common practice. What if you can bring an NGINX technology into the monolithic practices as well, right? You can creatively use NGINX technology in your everyday life as well, right? Agility. Now, NGINX, so when you think about super user as a superhero are people who do not easily give up. They always rise up to the challenge and able to respond to it, right? So we're looking for people who are able to, so continue to explore the technology. And again, last but not least, superhero is always the one who go and save the world, right? So that's why the super user, we're looking for people who are passion driven. They're able, beside what they know, they want to contribute. Like for example, in this meetup and etc. Like contribute your knowledge, again, sharing about people, how you use the technology to bring to your practices as well. Now, Ingress Controller is, okay, for example, let's say, give you an example, in a microservices Ingress Controller, everybody will use it, right? And then you do not know what you do not know. Then the way, for example, every day you're using one or two methods to achieve what you want. Then because of the sharing of other super user, then you realize, hey, actually I can achieve a lot more things by simple tweaking a few parameters and get a very creative result to complement my business application to bring it faster to market. So that's why we're looking for people beside and empowering themselves, they will empower other people through their contributions as well. Right. So this called the super user. Now, so right now, so are you if you are not an NGINX user before, hopefully after what I shared so far, to inspire you to explore this technology, right? Now, if you are already an NGINX user, are you do you just want to be an NGINX user, or you inspired to become a super user? Now, being a super user, for example, you'll become an early adopter of the new features. If let's say NGINX continue very fast pace of innovations, with new features will inform you, then you can start testing it out, embrace all this technology. But if again, you have stand a chance to be our guest speaker in NGINX event, right? Sometimes in NGINX organized speed up, if you are good, so we got to know you through our this type of community, we're able to invite you to become our guest speaker as well. and some of your work, some of your creativity, right, be able to write into the blog, in the NGINX blog, or into the YouTube, again, to empowering other community user on how to use NGINX technology into their everyday life as well. And also, super user, we are looking for you to become an influencer as well, right? Continue to influence to become the ambassador for these wonderful products as well, right? Now, so how, after having said all of this, right? Now, how do you be a NGINX super user, right? How do you become the NGINX super user? Now, before I talk about this one, I thought I want to share with you some of the area that the places that you can look for the resources, right? Now, first place is very obvious. You go to nginx.com. There's a lot of information, very well documented articles and blog posts, best practices as well. Check out from time to time. Check out on the blog for informations. And also another thing is like in the learn documentations, right? In the documentations, different product, NGINX Plus, controller. They say some of the product that I mentioned just now is all having their subcategory here. Now, this place is very useful for you as well, because this place, if let's say for you, when you answer your question in the super user test, you got stuck, feel free to come to this website to look out for some of the information as well. Right, so this is a very useful website. nginx.org. And then you come to this documentations. There's a lot of directive on how to configure to achieve certain things as well, right? For example, let's say you want to do a job token authentications, they will teach you exactly how you can configure, etc. So it's very well documented and very helpful as well, right? Now, back to today's topic, right? Now, how can you become an NGINX super user? So first of all, now, okay, so later on, we're going to show you the website. In the website, there's a lot of links, a lot of video clip, a short video clip, a bite-sized video clip for you to learn about specific topic as well, right? So you can, if you're familiar, feel free to go through it or feel free to skip it. But definitely you're able to gain an extra nugget if you go through some of the information as well, right? So, so there's a lot of resources for you to beef up. Right. After you get familiar with the technology, you feel comfortable, you can register for free for the assessment, right? So it's kind of free assessment. Now you have a chance, you have 2 chances to pass the test, right? After you register, you can choose to at your own convenient time, you take the online assessment. Now it's an open book assessment. So again, while answering the question, you can go to Google as well. But however, you only have there's 100 questions that you need to take in 60 minutes. So if you are not prepared, you go for it, then 60 minutes, it's probably too short for you to Google around, right? So you might want to prepare yourself, right? Now, the whole idea is not just prepare for the sake of the exam, right? The exam or the assessment is kind of assessment for your own benchmarking. But the idea is about going through this whole process, you enjoy it, you learn about the new technology which will be beneficial to your career as well. Now, the passing mark is 80%, right? It's not 50%, but we intentionally put as 80% because we're not looking for user, we're looking for super user. That's why there's high benchmark here. Now, I want to give you an idea, right? Even some of NGINX specialists, initially they might struggle to hit this 80%. So which in a way say this 100 question, it could be easy or it could be tricky as well. So yeah, you just want to get yourself prepared. Now, after if you pass, you get a certificate, and then you can just boast and tell the world like, hey, you're an NGINX super user. Again, it can kind of be a good sticker to your CV, to your LinkedIn profile as well. And after that, we'll welcome you to the NGINX Super User group as well, and then we'll present you a swag pack. So you get a certificate, digital certificate, and limited edition of this t-shirt. Now I haven't passed this exam myself, hence I haven't even get this t-shirt yet. Now I myself also looking forward to take the assessment in order for me to qualify to win this t-shirt. Right. Once you get all of this digital get swag pack, again, go to social media, be an influencer, shout it out, right? There's hashtag NGINX Super User ASEAN. This is very primarily for ASEAN focus. And then since we are in a Malaysia group, so NGINX Super User MY, and hashtag and make a big shout out as well, right? Now, so where do I start, right? Okay, so just now I show you the NGINX website. There's this another website is called I probably will share the link with you later. NGINX/ASEAN Super User, right? So again, just on whatever information I talk about, the process of how you get qualified to become a super user, all of this link, you can click into it on the specific topic, the use cases for you to learn about this thing. It's all the YouTube links. And then if you once you're ready, you can click on this assessment, and then you can just take the test, right? So it's very, very straightforward, right? Now, so there's a very portal, it's a well-designed portal, super user hub portal for you to to get yourself prepared and get a test as well, right? So just on those links, as I mentioned, there's a lot of topics. Some of it is very long, some are very short, but it definitely, even if a user right now, existing user, all of this video definitely will just improve on your skill set as well, right? Right. Last but not least, okay. Now, so those are on-demand resources, right? That you can learn about it in your own free time. Now, we also, I mean, so it so happened, there's an upcoming event on 21st of September, right? Just in 2 weeks time, or 1 to 2 weeks time. There's 2 hours training webinar, right? It's free to register, so you can just scan the QR code right now. Just head over to register. Now, this is follow along live webinar. So just now it's pre-recorded video, right? So it means you just watch it on your own pace to learn about it. Now, this one is there's an instructor. They will just teach you and then kind of follow along instructions on how to learn about all of this topic again, right? Now, so if you do not want to watch the recorded video, you can just register for this live event as well, right? Now, so again, I just want to say this follow along. So what happened again? You can just spin up some of the container in your PC and just learn about that, right? Right. I think this is my last slide. Hopefully, at the end of whatever I share, are you up for the challenge? And hopefully, I inspire you to start embracing NGINX technology into your practices. And at the same time, inspire you to become not just to become NGINX user, to become an NGINX super user. To become the world has too many users, right? But we are looking for superhero. The world need a bit more superhero, to make the world a better place. Right, that's all for my presentations. I believe there's some chat. Darren's, I hand over the time to you.
Sure. Okay. Michael, have you shared about the swag pack and the stuff for the assessment?
Yes, just now I shared already. So after they take the test, they pass the passing mark is 80%. Once they pass the passing mark, they will receive a digital certificate as well as a limited edition NGINX swag pack.
Yeah. So make sure you guys go for this assessment and get your swag pack, because first come first serve. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Michael. That was a great talk. Yeah, that was a great talk. How many of you here in the chat have learned something here? Wow, I just noticed we have 218 attendees. When we started, we have 190, and now we have 218. That's a lot of people. Too much info to digest. Learn that's NGINX today. Wow, there's some people who just discovered NGINX. Good of you to come. Okay, yeah, learned a lot, right? Even myself, I've learned a lot because honestly speaking, DevOps is not my forte. It's not my forte, but my knowledge about DevOps and NGINX tools has definitely increased a little after listening to Michael's talk. So thank you so much to Michael. It's a very rare opportunity to get someone like Michael to speak for us today here. Okay, so now we move on to the next segment, which is the Q&A. And I see that we have a lot of questions, both in the chat and also in the chat Q&A box. I'll cite the first question. So anonymous attendee asks, what does a software architect do? And how does one progress from a software engineer into a solutions architect? Michael, you're muted.
Okay, sure. So the first question is software architect do. I think it really depends on individual company practices. If you have a small company, one man show, everything you do, you pao ka liao, right? So called, right? So if you're in more well-structured company, you're very niche into a specific area as well. So software architect, obviously, personally, I think being a software programmer is a good start. Right? That's where because being a software architect, you need to know how the code run, and then you need to learn through the pain, right? So how I ended up today as a solution the architect is because I used to be a programmer. Before I become a programmer, I used to be a system tester, a QA. I test the code and I hate the code so much because I think that that programmer wrote a lousy code, and I wanted to write a better code. That's how I inspired myself to become a software programmer. I become a software programmer because of the previous experience. I tend to become more careful with my code because I know that if I don't write properly, the other QA will scold me as well. And become a software programmer, and later on, and I know how the components work together, that it can empower me to become a software architect as well. So all your experience will not go to waste. It's just more on how you leverage on your past experience to build up a better career as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting to know. As means like other people think that if they go for tester role, then they'll forever become a tester role. No one would thought that you'll be able to transition out of the role.
This is interesting fact. I used to be a system tester, and I used to test performance, right? To fine tune the performance, etc. And also because I system tester, I had to in charge of putting the software, rolling out software into productions. That time, there's way before automation popular, right? So at the time, I was using shell script. I had to write my own shell script to do my own automations. Now today, people talking about Ansible, talking about Terraform, etc. Yes, I might not familiar with all of these languages, but the concept, I have been using it since 20 years ago. So that's why I want to say, in every single role, there's always a good takeaway for your next role as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Michael, for the insights. So hope that answers your question. Now, next question, Simon Low. Does it integrate with New Relic APM monitoring? I'm not sure which what he's referring to, but does it integrate with New Relic APM monitoring? Must be one of the technologies you were explaining earlier.
Yeah. Okay. This APM, I assume it's application performance monitoring, right? If I want to take a guess. Now, so Nginx itself, you can configure to send out logs to external logging, to Grafana, to syslog, and to Splunk, the upside, etc. So we can send out all of these list log to the transaction logs to this SIEM products as well. So that's point number one. And point number two, Nginx, we have a Nginx Plus. Okay, Nginx Plus is the commercial versions. You have we will provide additional matrices, 100 over matrices, like latency, CPU, the upstream performance, the connection, etc. Now, all of these are available through Nginx API. So you have an Nginx, you install Nginx Plus, you can configure to have an exposed API. Now, again, this is one of the questions in the test. Now, once you expose the API, you're able to call Nginx to pull out of all of these logs as well, right? For your API, for your application performance monitoring through JSON format. Yeah.
Okay, answered live. Okay, moving on to the next question. How or can you run multiple sites on one web server using Nginx?
Definitely you can. So, okay, when you say multiple site, I assume it's different host name. For example, www.abc.com, www.xyz.com. So I would consider you are referring multiple site is this way. Now, Nginx, you can configure to achieve all of this easily as well. Right?
Okay, great. Next question. Can Nginx load balancer configure manually on 2 different zones OS server?
Okay, so if you are talking about 2 different zone OS, so I assume you have 2 virtual machines or 2 Linux machines. You want to configure Nginx on both sides. Okay, so why you want to run multiple Nginx on different OS or different server is to ensure of high availability, because Okay, for internal testing, you just spin out one instance, just test out features. But for production readiness, right, you want to have a high availability. In case one down and another one can take over, right? So high availability. Now, so what you can do, you can install Nginx into two different servers, two different EC2 instance or container per se whatsoever. Now, so you can configure them as a cluster. So that means they will sync their configuration file. They can sync their state as well. So if one down, another one can take over. So we call it active standby pair as well. Now, if you want to run active pair, it can work as well, but there's a way for you to achieve the configuration sync as well. Now, this is available through Nginx commercial features as well. Yeah.
Okay, now the next question is, what is the possible way to implement a multi-tenant architecture? Can Nginx go to container ABC with the URL abc.domain.com and can go to DEF with the URL def.domain.com?
Now, this is what you just asked is what we call layer 7, OSI layer 7 routing policy, right? Based on the host name, based on URL path, based on parameter, based on all this information, we choose to direct the traffic to. Yeah. So this is what we call these are load balancer features, layer 7 routing policy features. This is what the second use case that I mentioned just now. So it's definitely doable and it's very, very common. A lot of people using it as well.
Okay. Oh, I just learned about that. Great stuff. Okay, the next question is, what are the prerequisites that you should learn before learning Nginx? I don't think there's any, right? Is there?
Actually, yeah, there's no prerequisite. I think if I may, yeah, internet. Once you have internet access, you can just Google and all the resources. You can watch all the YouTube, you can read all the configuration file. But personally, I feel like once you get your hand on it, right? As I say, the easiest way is to install Docker in your computer and then just run a Docker command and then just play with it. And hands-on experience definitely beat thousands of reading. Yeah.
I would say Nginx itself is the prerequisite.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. The next question: use Nginx Unit or Unicorn?
I think Unicorn, if I understand, is very for Python, right? Now, so as I said, Unit itself is a polyglot, so it can run a lot more different languages as well. Now, Nginx Unit is built. I would say built on top of Nginx. Is leveraged on the experience that we have with Nginx, right? Nginx event-driven non-blocking performance, right? It's very highly scalable. Hence, all of this design consideration or design concept use it when we build Nginx Unit. So Nginx Unit is super highly scalable and high performance as well. Now you can run more than one languages. That's one of the cool things as well.
Okay. All right, the next question here, we have 8 more questions to go. Hope you're not too tired, Michael.
No worry.
All right. So is Nginx contending with Azure and AWS?
I wouldn't say contending. I would say Nginx definitely complement your practices in a public cloud. Now, when you go to public cloud, right? When you ask this question, contending, are you probably, Nginx can do load balancer, Azure, AWS have their own load balancer as well. So hence, are you contending? Now, actually, we are not seeing that because what happened is now if you are new to public cloud, right? So first thing is when I go to public cloud, offer me all of these native features, right? So people have a tendency of just use the features natively. But you have to understand, Nginx has been in the industry, the technology has so matured for the past close to 20 years, right? Now, all of these cloud providers, they are still very new. So how some of these native features are very limited in features, right? I think 2 weeks ago when I was trying to do a POC in a public cloud, and it feels so painful to configure certain things in use of those native load balancer as well. Now, another popular common challenge what people face when they go to AWS load balancer cannot do mutual TLS, right? So if you are modern practices, you want to two-way SSL authentications, the public cloud, the load balancer couldn't do that. Hence, they need to use Nginx into public cloud as well. Now, one of the very important thing is when you go to when you want to cloud journey is to want to prevent cloud vendor lock-in, because today AWS might be good to you. You want to use it. Maybe tomorrow your company want to align with Azure. You want to port over to Azure. But if you use too much cloud native inbuilt things, you are locked down by the environment. It's very hard for you to port over. Nginx being a cloud agnostic. That doesn't matter which environment, on-premise, private cloud, or public cloud, the same configuration, you can just run in different environment. Hence, we can't in one single policy run everywhere. So it kind of helps you in your cloud journey as well. Yeah, so I won't say contending, but it's very complement your public cloud journey.
Okay, good to know. Because from the tool set that you've mentioned, it's quite a wide tool set. It sounds a lot like going to compete with the other cloud service.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The next question, this is an interesting one. You've talked about the upsides of NGINX. Is there any instances where NGINX would not be suitable?
Yes, NGINX cannot run in Windows.
Oh.
So NGINX, okay, NGINX installed in Linux, right? In the Linux distribution, you can run. Now, when I say technically, you cannot install NGINX in your window. You can install NGINX in your MacBook, but cannot install NGINX in your window. But however, if you install a Docker in your window, you can run NGINX container in your window. Okay, so some of our customers say, oh, we have a Windows server in our data center. Can you install NGINX? Unfortunately, we can't. Right. So that is, I would guess, probably a downside. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next question. In what stage can you consider yourself a good programmer? As a programmer requires someone who is able to do good coding, and there's a lot of people who doesn't code well, but the entire code is just spaghetti.
I left my programming job for a long time. So I wouldn't say I'm a good programmer anymore, because so my last language I use is Java. So right now I would consider myself more like a scripter. I do my own scripting, like a Node.js scripting, etc., just for my own testing purposes. I'm not ready for production use. So right now I can't consider myself a programmer, more like a scripter, like writing some shell script, writing some Python script or whatsoever. Right. As a programmer, I don't know how to answer the second part of the question. I guess it's it's right now a lot of people everyone claim they are a programmer. I think you have to take it with a pinch of salt of everyone works. Yeah.
Let me ask an add-on question to that. Do you need good programming skills, or do you need years of experience as a programmer, senior programmer, to become a solutions architect?
Okay. The learning curve for different people is different, right? So one person can pick up a lot of technology in 1 year. Another person who can pick up a technology in a year. It's just more like a personal aspirations. If you want to become architect, right? For let's say solution architect whatsoever, then hence you need to get out from your comfort zone, try out new technology, not just try out technology, you want to get your hand a bit dirty to how it works, right? Now, so if let's say you just because of my work, I'm being assigned to, let's say, write Java, right? Even though after 5 years of Java programming, my exposure is actually on one single technology. So even though the length of your experience doesn't really make you give you the equivalent of exposure. If you have an aspiration to become architect, again, exposures, a different technology, so probably will help. Yeah.
Right. So you need to be a front end, back end, and multiple technology specialist.
Yeah. You might not be specialized into it, but at least you need to know fundamental on how things works, right? Again, like as a programmer, you might not know how the database administrator, how they work. But again, you might need to know some of the database technology, how you interact with it, and some of the things.
Okay. Good to know. I guess some of us will have assumption that one day, either after you become senior dev, what's next? Team lead, solution architect, so on. Good to know. Good to know. Okay, the next question by Ahmad Fikri. Do we need to rebuild the stack for upgrade process, or can we do it seamlessly? By upgrade, I mean free NGINX to NGINX Plus, etc.
Okay. Now, NGINX open source, again, NGINX is based on configuration file, right? The .conf file, right? The conf.d folder, etc. Now, NGINX open source will work in NGINX Plus. NGINX Plus configuration might not work in NGINX open source. Why so? Because NGINX Plus introduce additional features. because of additional features, hence those paid features might not work in open source. So if let's say you have a configuration file in Nginx open source, what you need to do is you just install, upgrade your binary Nginx to Nginx Plus. The very likelihood your conf file will just work as is. So there's no way to rebuild entire stack per se. Yeah.
Okay, good to know that. Hope that answers your question.
Mm-hmm.
Next question: does Nginx mix well with Let's Encrypt?
Yes. Yeah, you can check out the. There's a public articles on how to configure to have an integration Nginx with the Let's Encrypt.
Yep, I use that as well. Let's Encrypt Nginx.
Yep.
Okay, next question by Xavier Liu. I heard that Nginx does not support .htaccess file. Is there any convenient alternative for .htaccess for Nginx?
Now, I have to apologize. I myself do not know the answer to these questions. Yeah, so probably I might have to take away to do some research on that.
Okay. Next question. I think we have 4 more questions after this. Is it possible to have 2 websites with the same domain name, like www.abc.com/site1, www.abc.com/site2 for a single application like Angular using Nginx or Apache Web Server?
Yeah, this is possible. I think again, this is whether your domain, the hostname routing or the path routing. This is just layer 7. The routing is definitely possible. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. This question is kind of odd. Can we install Nginx in Android?
I do not know why you want to
phone,
install Nginx in Android. Yeah, it's a phone, and then what can you do? Okay. I mean, rather than the joke, but technically, I don't think so. You can because Nginx need to be installed in Linux. Yeah, and then I don't know what Android built on. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe someday in the future, will, right? Someone use a mobile as a small scale server. All right. Okay, next question. If I use a lot of Nginx, does that count as vendor login with Nginx? What would the process be if I want to switch to AWS Azure native features from Nginx?
Yeah, very, very, very good question, right? Now, it's more like who is a bigger lockdown, or bigger, who could be the biggest risk, right? So, okay, whatever thing you do, you just want to evaluate the risk factor, right? Now, so if you're using a lot of Nginx, so your skill set be on top of that, it could be a form of quote unquote lockdown, right? But what happens is because Nginx is a multi-environment platform agnostic. Now, so it have a lesser evil, I would say even lesser risk compared to the cloud native, right? Now, because like let's say, because the environment itself is harder to port over, but Nginx technology is just enable to you to run differently as well. Now, so when you go to AWS and Azure, if today you're using on-premise, you're using Nginx, if tomorrow you want to go to Azure and AWS, you can bring your Nginx configuration file, things in spin up in AWS as well. Now, I want to show you is Nginx have so much benefit and features compared to the cloud native load balancer, etc. Right. So if you want to do those advanced modern practices, definitely Nginx is a choice to go even in public cloud. Right? So the cloud native one, it just serves for very specific purposes. Yeah.
Okay, so now we have another question. Actually, the questions are still coming in. I'm very happy that it's so active tonight.
Yeah. I'm happy to answer as well.
Okay. Yeah, next question by Emmanuel Chan. That's a very special name, by the way. Is Nginx efficient at caching dynamic contents?
Now, dynamic content, right, is very it's not just Nginx itself, but it's just general, very questionable, right? Static content is so much easier to cache. Dynamic content, again, the word itself is dynamic, right? It's very short-lived. Now, so what we can do in Nginx is we can configure Nginx to cache on the rest size for a very short period of time. Now, so because of that, right? So let's say, for example, let's say the contents are dynamic, but if we cache it for, let's say, half a second, or right? So even though it's still a form of caching, but it will refresh faster, right? Now, we have customers using that in production, but Nginx itself is still very powerful data plane. Hence, I would say the performance is still very efficient. Yeah, but generally because of a dynamic nature, we still have to continue to go to the end server, the server backend server to fetch the content in a very frequent manner compared to static content. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. All right, the next question by Ike Hong Tan. Can AWS certificates be pinned to NGINX Ingress Controller instead of pinning to AWS Load Balancer?
Now, so I assume you're practicing the EKS, etc., or cluster in AWS. Now, so in AWS, whatever public cloud, right, you deploy Ingress Controller, and after Ingress Controller, then what you do is you to have a load balancer in front for high availability as well, right? So the very common practice is in AWS, in the load balancer in front, the cloud native load balancer, it's just doing layer 4 load balancer. It just distribute layer 4 load balancer to a bunch of Nginx Ingress Controller for high availability. And the SSL termination will be in the Nginx Ingress Controller. Now, how do you configure the certificate in the Ingress Controller is through, for example, custom resource through secret. Like let's say for Kubernetes, you have a secret resource, right? So you can use secret resource to upload your certificate into Nginx Ingress Controller for you to do SSL termination. And AWS load balancer will just do layer 4 without SSL terminations.
Okay, the next question by Nick Tan. Can a NAS like Synology install Nginx?
I personally never try. Again, I think the phrase is, if you go to the documentations, we just say what OS we support. Then like CentOS, Red Hat, Ubuntu, and etc. Now, if let's say your NAS supported is running on this type of listed operating system, then I would say yes. If not, then I would say no. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question by Henry Wan. How to optimize for mostly static pages, 90% in Nginx only environment, but high traffic?
Now, so talking about performance tuning per se, right? So first thing you say static content 90%. So obviously you want to turn on Nginx the caching features for quite obvious caching features. Now when you talk about the high traffic, right? Now if you're running Nginx, I'm not sure whether you're running Nginx itself as a web server or you're running Nginx itself as a web load balancer to your web server, right? So what you can do, you can tune there are article and parameter on how you can tune, keep alive connections, time to leave, type of cachings, and yeah. So there's a lot. Nginx have a lot of okay. So again, worker processors. These are their parameter for you to tune. Again, I'll encourage you to go and Google tuning the Nginx articles in the Nginx blog.
Okay, we're down to our last two questions. How does your okay, let me rephrase the question. How do you compare traffic versus Nginx versus head proxy?
Now, when I read these questions, if I want to take a guess, I assume you're asking in terms of Ingress Controller, right? I'm not sure whether because all of this solution could be deployed as a normal load balancer for your monolithic application, or could be deployed as a Ingress Controller, right? Now, the Nginx again, it's a performance. Okay, first thing is performance, because we've been way before Kubernetes start getting popular, we'll be running as things. So it's very super optimized, super performance. Performance one thing. And second thing is that if you're running combined Ingress Controller, right? Just think about these things, right? You say, okay, A product, B product, and C product. Can you do rate limiting? All of them say, yes, I can do rate limiting. Okay, so features why everybody can do. The second thing that you want to ask yourself is, how do you achieve rate limiting, and how flexible is the rate limiting? Now, if you take a closer look, like the devil is the devil is in the detail, right? Now, if you take a closer look, for example, HA proxy Ingress Controller rate limiting is based on IP address only. Now, IP address rate limiting is very bad because a lot of people running on proxy, so it's not accurate. Nginx can do on a lot more other parameter, and also we can have a support of bursting type of algorithm and no delay algorithm. So features, how granular, how you achieve a certain features. Again, you can't differentiate the cell. So performance, granular in the features, and third things, how you control. Because in the modern practices, you want to have a multi-tenancy, different group. You want to have a empower the different team to use it, right? So if let's say you configure one thing which will impact on the second person, so it might not be a good thing as well. So NGINX give you a lot of all this control, granular control. Yeah.
Okay, so now we want to all the small questions coming in, but I think we'll stop here. I mean, I'll stop at that question, but we answer 2 more questions, okay? So the next question is, how is the Cloudflare service compared to NGINX, especially Cloudflare Worker?
I want to apologize. I'm not very familiar with Cloudflare Worker. Cloudflare, there's a lot of things, right? Again, different company offer different solution under one company name, right? If a CDN, Cloudflare CDN, if you're talking about just CDN, some is a managed CDN. So which means you just subscribe to the CDN, but NGINX itself can be used as a CDN. It can be used as a caching. But however, you need to install it manually. So it's more like managed CDN, your own deployment, compared to a software as a service or managed service by third party as well. So yeah, I mean, I apologize if let's say it doesn't really answer your thing, because it's just certain company have a lot of portfolio under the umbrella. Yeah.
Okay, next question by Daniel Fu. I know Daniel Fu is probably the one from Money Lion. What are some of the biggest challenges your NGINX customer are facing?
Now, I have to say, NGINX, because it's open source, and then a lot of users are already well familiar with NGINX. So a lot of time when I talk, okay, so maybe what I'm facing, right? So generally when I'm talking to people, it's either they never heard of NGINX, so I try to introduce them for the very first time, etc., or they already are existing users already. Now, if you ask me what is the biggest challenge, is they do not know what they do not know. Okay, because it's kind of pit hole, right? If once I use it, I thought, I know NGINX is reverse proxy load balancer. That's all I care about, right? But until someone tell me you can do different thing, you can configure certain thing, you can achieve different result, then oh wow, there's another new dimensions to the whole technology. So the biggest challenge is, if you want to put it more bluntly, is they didn't take full advantage of the NGINX technology, even though they start using it, right? So it's like, again, there's unlimited resources out there. There's a lot of things that you can do with that. So continue to embrace the learning, get curiosity, stay curious about how and how things and to achieve more innovations as well. Yeah.
Okay. Finally, down to our last question. last already. Very active crowd tonight. What's the roadmap in terms to be more compatible with Windows? Does NGINX already plans to become more compatible?
I honestly, there's no immediate roadmap for that. Yeah, as I say, yeah, we support a wide range of OS. Primarily it's the Linux distribution, so there's no plan on running on Windows. The closest that you can get to Windows is probably running on the Docker container in Windows. Or another way around, right? Or when I can look at this question another way around. When will Windows be more compatible like Linux? If they say they can, then probably we can install the NGINX on there. But until the day, as of now, we don't officially run natively in Windows. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we reached the end. Wow, we've answered Michael have answered 39 questions. Must be a record. Okay, so thank you so much, Michael, for your very informative talk and for your amazing Q&A session. We've really learned a lot from your insights as an experienced solutions architect. Okay, so now I guess we have moved on to the last segment of tonight's webinar event, the moment that you've all been waiting for, which is the giveaway. Okay, let me share my screen. Time to be Santa Claus. Yes, before I go on to the lucky draw event, let me announce a surprise for you guys. So let me share my screen. So exclusively for developer Kaki community, just now you've heard Michael mention that for all super user assessment participants, they will receive a swag pack and certificate, right? That's for everyone across Asia. But for Malaysia community, for developer Kaki community exclusive, the top 3 scoring super user assessment participant will get these 3 prizes, the top 3 and the fastest. Okay, so we will have a third prize. We will have the Logitech MX2S wireless mouse. So if you don't get it this round, in this webinar, you can get it in the super user assessment. Second prize is the Ducky 1-2 mini RGB double shot PBT mechanical keyboard, color and switch type of the winner's choice. And the first prize is the Sony WF-1000XM3 true wireless ANC earbuds. Very attractive price, right? Because I chose it myself. This is what I think the developers will like and will use in their work from home setup. Okay, sounds sweet, excited. So make sure you guys participate in the super user assessment in the next 1 month, yeah? So here's the giveaway flow. It's very simple. For the top 3 highest scoring Malaysian NGINX super user, meaning based in Malaysia. If there's multiple participants with the same score, right, the earlier one will be chosen as the winner. So do your best, score high and score fast. Okay, you guys in this webinar, who attended this webinar, will know about this information first. So make use of it. You can start doing tonight. Okay.